Normally when I start off these videos, I tell you we're going to have a great time. It's going to be a good deal. That's not going to be this video. I want everybody to understand I'm going to grossly oversimplify some things in this video just to get it done. So we're going to be making a drift today for our tong videos that we're going to be doing later this month. So the problem with a drift is, here's the deal. If you don't know this, like let's say we want a perfectly sized 3/8 inch hole, okay? You don't punch that hole. You actually start with a smaller punch. You're going to punch it a 1/4 inch, but then you're going to use a tapered bar to drive through that hole while it's hot that will perfectly size it. Now, let's say that we have a piece of stock. Now, the simple solution, and I know most of you are thinking this, well, if we want to do that, we just buy some 3/8 stock, make the drift out of that, run it through, and bam, you're done. Except you're not. Because if you use regular size 3/8 stock to make your drift out of, that means that that hole is going to be perfectly 3/8. When you buy a piece of 3/8 round stock for your rivet, it won't fit through it when it's hot because it expands. So your drifts have to be slightly larger than the final hole that you want to accommodate hot rivets and things of this nature. Now, that means that either you have to buy a large stick of stuff that's a 1/16 of an inch or so better, which most of us don't want to do. So the question becomes, how do you use standard size steel and swell it up to be able to make a drift that's slightly bigger than the size that we want? That's where upsetting comes in. Now, I know a lot of you guys have heard about this technique. And it's a very common technique where you actually either put a piece on the top of the anvil or clamp it in the vise, you tap here, and the middle thickens. That's the way it works simply. The problem is that the higher the ratio of the width of your piece to the length of the piece, the more when you hit that, it doesn't compress, it actually bends. And I'm going to tell you, I just spent the last hour trying to make a 3/8 6-inch drift. And I'm going to tell you, I could choke somebody about now. It's just not a good thing. So this time around, we're going to go up a size to 1/2 inch. I'm going to use the vise to upset, and we're going to go from there. So it's a real goat roping, and I'm hoping that it's going to work in the 1/2 inch. Now, there's a couple things that I'm going to do here that, again, are not standard. And I want to point out they are not standard in this particular video that I am hell-bent to do. Normally, if it's this tough, I do a different damn video. I don't continue aggravating myself on this, but I want to make this happen because we need that drift, and I want you guys to have an idea of how this goes. We're going to make a 1/2 inch drift simply because most all the tongs that I use a 1/2 inch rivet because we use bigger tongs. The 3/8 was just not a good experience. So I'm going with 1/2 inch. However, after making this command decision and walking out to my rack, I don't have any 1/2 inch round, so what is a boy to do? I do, however, have a lot of 1/2 inch square. So today, we're going to attempt to make a 1/2 inch round drift that's just a little oversized out of some square bar. And try to forget that terrible goat roping that occurred earlier when I tried to do it in 3/8 because it just ain't happening, okay? So here's what's going to happen. So the first thing is that square bar actually has more meat in it than round stock does. It weighs a little bit more, just has more volume. So you would think that if you came in here and just knocked the corners off that it would be big enough. Hey, it's just not quite there. We're still going to need to upset this. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to heat this bar up, okay? I'm going to heat up about 4 or 5 inches right here. When I bring it out, I'm actually going to dunk the first inch in water, keep that cool, lock this in the vise, and then back it up and upset it, hopefully thickening this bar so we have enough material to make that area as thick as we want it, okay? That's the plan. I haven't done this. I'm breaking one of Jay's cardinal rules. Never perform in public what you haven't perfected in private. And I can guarantee you, if it doesn't work out, you're not going to see it on camera. So let's go to work. All right, here we go. Locked in, and we're going to start the upset. And already I can tell you, this is working out so much better than last time. Now you see you're going to get a little bend in there no matter what you do, but that's okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to straighten this up on the anvil, very carefully to straighten and not to crush. We're going to take another heat and we're going to thicken it again. All right. Again, we've got just a little bit. Looks like there's a pretty good swell in there. I'm actually going to take my calipers. That's about a 1/16 of an inch over ½ inch all the way around there, and that's what I'm looking for. So we're going to straighten this up, and then we're going to go ahead and round this over. Now the key with this, again, is very light blows. I've got the thickness I want, and now I'm going to come in right here. Notice how light the blow is. I'm overlapping and I'm working these corners down. And what I want to do is I want to get the corners to be eventually, that little platform I'm making, to be as wide as the faces. I want this to be an octagon. Be patient and work it down very, very lightly. You can see we got good, clean, straight lines. So let's take another heat. All right, now I've pretty much got an octagon bar here. And so now I'm going to attack the lines on the edge of the octagon. And this should, again, using light blows, turn this piece into the closest thing we can get to a true round bar without coming in and doing a bit of grinding. Again, I stress, look at the lightness of the blows. And if you can see the texture on there, that's pretty darn good. Now, the proof, though, is going to be here in our measurement. And I really want about a 1/16 of an inch over ½ inch. If you guys will look at that, look how perfect that is. Yep, everything right there is 9/16. So we are good. I have no problem telling you how much better that went than the previous 4 tries. What a flippin' nightmare. And sometimes literally changing the diameter of your stock by an 1/8 of an inch can have all the difference in the world, because there's a lot more meat between ½ inch and 3/8. It really, really is. That went super smoothly, and I cannot stress to you the anger and frustration that I've had for the past hour trying to get this 3/8 one done. However, we are good to go here. So what I'll do now is I'm going to take a heat on the front side. We're going to cut this, and then we're going to draw the taper. Now with the drift, we only need about 1 inch close to the top to actually do the work. Everything else is going to be on a taper, including the backside. So I misspoke a little bit. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and heat the end, and I'm going to make a taper on the end that's about 1 inch long. That's so that the piece can go in, size it, and then you can hammer it all the way through. If it's just a straight taper, it's going to hang in your piece. So you got to add some what they call relief to the backside. Several times I've had to add relief to the backside. Now, just like before, when we've tapered, we're going to lift that bar up a little bit. We're going to change the angle of our hammer. Now, most of the times I do this in the square, but since we've got such a short area, I'm going to do this in the round. Again, notice the light, rapid blows. So I've just tapered about 1 inch right there on the end. And this can be refined later at the grinder, but you just want to get that taper in there. So now I believe I'm going to cut it somewhere right here. I'll put myself a mark on there. We'll take a heat. We'll pop in our cutting hardy, and we're going to slice a duty. All right, we're going to pop this on the slice-o-matic. Now I'm actually rotating this so the cut's going to be just a little bit cleaner and a little bit more centered. And bam, there you go. Now, get our right tongs, which of course I had conveniently misplaced. Grab our piece here, and now we're going to start by just making a taper. Got a little bit of coal, so we're going to go back in the fire and we're going to continue bringing that piece out. Remember, as you work, if things get out of kilter, always try to strike a series of blows and keep them in line. All right. Now, one of the things we're going to do, you can see we're nice and squared up here. And that will most certainly work, but I don't want this to be actually a square point here. I want this to actually be a two-sided deal. So what's going to happen is I'm going to turn this up on the edge, and I'm going to work the taper down here so that we actually have a wedge as opposed to this this four-corner jazz here. All right. And we are getting real close. Now, one thing you have to watch out for is going to be this transition area right here. Remember, that needs to be the widest thing that you've got going on. So make sure that those corners, those sharp corners, are taken off. And you can see now we've got very much more a wedge profile. It's a little crooked. It's okay. Okay, and it looks like, guys, that we are in business. Now, from here, this is going to be grind station work. So everything is as clean as it can be. And remember, the cleaner that your hammer blows are, the less grinding work you're going to have to do. So, yay freaking rah. I'm going to cool this down, and I'm going to hit it with a grinder a little bit just to clean it up. And we're going to take a look, and we're going to put it to use. So let's take a look at our finished piece here. Now, I have not done a huge time-consuming job of completely polishing this guy up. Again, I know that's going to be beyond the realm of what a lot of guys, what you guys can do. So I kind of went in there and just did the job. Now, in this case, having polished sides does help because it doesn't grab as it goes through. But the good news is you run it through a piece of metal long enough, they'll wipe right off. Now, the proof is kind of going to be in the pudding here. Is we started with a 1/2 inch piece of steel, and what we're shooting for is about 9/16. If you guys can see, we're about 9/16. A little tighter there. 9/16. So now we have got a drift that will open up a hole for some 1/2 inch that will do a really good job. So let me see if I can't find a 3/8 punch, some steel, and let's try this guy out. All right, there's our steel. Lock that in place. Let's pop that over, see what we're looking like here. And if we are good little boys and girls, I might be able to do this in one heat. Oh, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. Let's see if I can't knock her out. I'm cheating here. I should put a block up under it. But I cheated and got away with it. And there you go. There's a hole in our piece. Yes, sir. Cheated and got away with it. All right. So that's a little less than 3/8 of an inch. We'll take another heat, and then we're going to use our drift to open this up to 1/2 inch. All right, and guys, I'm going to see if I can do this in one heat. We're moving a lot of metal right here. Come on, baby. Bam! There you go. I ain't gonna lie, I didn't think we was gonna make it, but we did. And you can see what a perfectly sized looking hole that is right there, and that should be size for 1/2 inch. Man, I was sweating that one, I ain't gonna lie. However, we have some 1/2 inch stock here. Fits in beautifully, got some play in there. It's going to be plenty for when it swells, and there you go. Grab the drift. So, again, this guy certainly worked. It can be a goat roping. I mean, this is one of those things that, guys, if you have the extra cash, please buy you a set. These things are tough to make, and especially if it's mild steel. I'm sure you can see on that end how it was swelling. And the concern was, is I was having to hammer that joker so hard that that little incline that I made was going away very rapidly. And so it could have hung in the piece if it mushroomed too much. And that's why you have a good, proper type of drift. It prevents that from happening. But, man, I said, today is the day. Cheated and got away with it. So, well, guys, like I said, that's going to be all the goat roping I can handle for today. So there you go. You know, here's looking at you. The fact is that you can make a drift out of mild steel. It will come in super handy as you start putting tongs together. Of course, if you have a good drill press, you can always oversize the hole, go usually 1/16 of above or 1 millimeter above in a European's case, just to give you some play when your hot rivet goes in. So there you go, guys. That's it. I'm done. I'm not doing any editing. It's just going to have to be the way as it is. I'm done for the day. It's over. Bye. Go home.